This forest that is around us is a rainforest. It's called a rainforest because it rains all the time. Every month you have some rain that falls in it. And it's really important not only for the plants and the animals that live here, but for the people that also live near and around the rainforest.
Tropical rainforests are very complex ecosystems. They house thousands, if not millions of species, and most of them we do not know. It's an area that has high productivity, which means they accumulate large amount of living tissue, and most of this is plants, but other animals and microbes are there also present, and they play an important role in the diversity.
Biodiversity in biology just refers to the number of species. And there are some groups of animals and organisms that can be more diverse or less diverse. And the thing that's really unique to the tropics, though, is that because of the way that the organisms interact in the tropics, because of the climate, because of some of the geology, it creates this very rich and diverse environment that has allowed a lot of organisms to speciate or effectively create new species along the way over time. So there's high diversity here, and in fact, this area of Costa Rica can house as much as 10% of the whole entire world's diversity.
However, there are things that are important for society today and not things from the past. For example, the job that a forest like this does for cleaning waters, cleaning the air, capturing carbon from the atmosphere. This is the sink. This is the place where carbon gets captured. Carbon is great. We are carbon. We want carbon, but not up in the atmosphere where it creates something like a greenhouse effect, where the sun rays go through that layer of gases, carbon dioxide, for example, and then bounces back and it heats up the earth. That's what's happening right now. The more forests we have, the more of that carbon gets captured from the atmosphere. The water that we drink, the water from the aquifers and all that, the forest acts like a sponge for the replenishment of the aquifers and also avoids erosion into the rivers, which are also sources of food and livelihood for people. It's a source of employment. People can make a living working in the forest as a scientist, as a natural guide, naturalist, as a hotelier, in the ecotourism industry, doing tours, doing various things. And besides, this is like a giant theater. There's endless forms of entertainment in this forest. It's finding the connections, the strange animals, the weird things that happen, how things connect to each other are valuable intellectually, educationally, emotionally, and even for some people, spiritually.
Rainforests are not only good for Costa Rican society, but worldwide there are benefits that rainforests provide in kind of services that benefit everybody. Rainforests produce a lot of commodities. The first one is wood, that if properly managed can be extracted from primary forests, undisturbed forests.
Most of our medicines and foods originally came from a forest somewhere around the world. Have you ever seen a wild chicken? Well, chickens came originally from the forest.
Many medicinal plants are harvested or were discovered in rainforests. For example, ipecacuanha, which is a medicine that is used to treat malaria, it's grown in the rainforests of Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and it's harvested and sent to the places where it's processed to produce the medication that we take worldwide.
It's not only habitat that houses resources, but those resources can flow back out into the populace. So a great example of this are pollinators. Native pollinators are really important for the majority of tropical plants. In fact, 94% of all tropical plants are dependent on animal pollinators. And basically what this means is that unless these animal plant pollinators are interacting with the plants, then those plants aren't going to be able to produce fruit. And that's really important economically, but it's also very important for other organisms in the ecosystem, because plants are effectively that base layer of your trophic system or food chain. And without the ability of those plants to reproduce, we would not have more plants, and other animals would start to suffer as a result, and we would see a collapse in the system, or at least a very sharp changeover. So pollinators provide a key ecosystem service, which basically means that they're enabling the reproduction of the most important part of the entire system, and that's the plants.
You know, the conservation of rainforest is not easy. It's a complex question, and there are both, you know, localized problems. Each country has its own social context in which they have to deal with their environment, and then you have the multi or global factors. In Costa Rica, you know, we have population growth, urbanization that is constraining and affecting the area that is covered by forests. But we also have, you know, a global economy. Costa Rica is one of the largest producers of bananas and pineapples.
People are turning to agriculture as an alternative source of income and something that is more reliable than what other options they had before, especially when they hit hard economic times.
In order to produce pineapple, you need land, and it's land that otherwise will be covered with rainforest. So there is that land conflict, but the Costa Rican economy, it's very important to provide those pineapples as a commodity for the developed countries, and that's an important source of income. So it's that balance between the demand and the way in which the developed country consume goods.
And those are all different stressors that make this problem of preserving the rainforest a lot more difficult and a lot less straightforward than simply don't cut down trees or don't log. A lot of these people rely on those resources as a way to get them through and live their lives. So you can't just simply say from afar, oh, you shouldn't really do that. It's a cultural thing that you're fighting against, and as well as an economic need. When you are interacting with this environment, the things that you do are going to impact it. So if people are aware of what is there and what is present, it might change some of the ways that they behave. For instance, if you're aware that there's a clean water source in this environment, and you're aware of what your activities are and how those might affect the quality of that water source, it would be better for the community as a whole, not only because of the organisms that are also going to be impacted by any inputs or anything that humans are doing in that environment, but it's also going to come back around and affect them.
The role of the public in this is to learn enough about them so they understand the need to invest on their protection and their conservation. A station like this is generating all this knowledge, has also the obligation to make that knowledge understandable and relevant to the society where it sits. If any biologist that comes here falls in love with this place, and we love it and are passionate about it, but if I cannot transmit that passion to the people around them that are not biologists and not as geeky as we are, then they're not going to care about it. And if they don't care about it because they don't understand it, and they're not interested because they don't have the information, they're not going to protect it. And if we don't protect it, then we're going to lose something that is irreplaceable.